Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm talking about all of Christopher Nolan films ranked from weakest to best. These are basically, he's directed 13 films up at this point in his career. The Odyssey just came out recently. I'm hoping to have my Odyssey review already up on my channel for those who are interested in that. So just click on the channel link down below and should be the video right next to this one if you want to check that out. But in celebration of the Odyssey, because I think it's the second week of the box office when I'm recording this, it looks like it's doing really well. It's still kind of selling out all these IMAX screenings. And, I'm such a big Christopher Nolan fan, which I'll bring up in my Odyssey review for those who already saw that. I'm just a huge fan of the guy. And, sorry, went down the wrong tube there. And so I'm such a big fan of the guy. And so I really wanted to kind of just get an opportunity to rank all 13 of his films up to this point, what I feel is some of his weaker films and some of his better films, and kind of give you my take as to why I feel the way that I do. It is important to know, I think all 13 of these films are terrific films, but something does have to be the weakest, something has to be the best, so I kind of have to justify why my ranking will be the way that it is. But let's kind of jump into it. I do have 13 films to talk about here. So let's kind of get the hot take out of the way. Let's get number 13 out and done. But I will justify why it's as low as it is. And for me, number 13, strangely enough, is Memento. And the reason why I think I have it as low as I do is I just feel that Christopher Nolan is at a point in his career where he doesn't really need a memento anymore. He doesn't need to prove anything to us anymore. It's one of those films where I feel like its gimmick is kind of what made it last as long as it has, just making it in a different order than in chronological order. And it works for the film that he's telling. But for me personally, I've seen it twice now, so it's not just a fluke that I felt this way the first time. I have seen it more than once in my life. And there's just something about it where I don't want to rewatch it as much as some of his other films. There's just something about it that besides being out of order, and clearly you got to pay attention to all the details and everything else, there's just something about it that just doesn't quite as click with me as much some of his other films do. So for me personally, I'm going to have to put it at number 13. But hot takes out of the way, let's get into number 12. This film probably is going to be on the bottom half of a lot of other Nolan fans' list too, and that's the film Following. This is his first feature-length directorial debut, and I like this movie. Like I said, I enjoy all 13 of these movies. There's really not a bad film on this list necessarily, but with Following, I think the reason why it's as low as it is, first of all, it's technically feature length, but it's not really. I think it's like 60 to 70 minutes long, so it just barely makes the feature length mark. And it is one of those movies where, kind of like Memento, I just feel like Christopher Nolan is in a better place in his career now where he doesn't really need to make something like Following anymore. He can put a little bit of money into the production. He can do something a little more concept driven. And I like the concept of this movie. I think that's why I like it as much as I do, is it does have a pretty unique concept to it. At the end of the day, though, like I said, it just kind of feels like a demo reel. It just kind of feels like Christopher Nolan getting his foot in the door, being like, hey, look what I can do as a director and stuff like that. So it's just one of those things where if you're just kind of curious to see what a young Nolan was doing, what he felt at the time he could bring to the table as far as directing goes, it's an interesting watch in that regard. But if you're just looking for like a great film to watch, I think it's strictly kind of just for the Nolan fans at this point. There's really nothing about it that strictly stands out with this movie, so I'm going to put Following at number 12. And sorry, my neighbor was doing something weird outside. At number 11, I have The Prestige. This is his magician movie that he did with Hugh Jackman and Scarlett Johansson and Christian Bale. He did it actually right after Batman Begins, too. So definitely, that's kind of how I took notice of it. It was like, ooh, the Batman Begins guy has another movie. And so at number 11, like I said, I have The Prestige. I like this movie. I like the twist at the end. I think the reason why I have it as low as I do is because Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale's characters, for the most part, are kind of unlikable in it. You feel kind of bad for Scarlett Johansson throughout the movie because there's times where she wants to work for Hugh Jackman. There's times where she wants to work for Christian Bale. There's times where she has to interfere with Christian Bale's marriage to the Rebecca Hall character. And there's just things about it that just kind of rub me the wrong way. Another thing I kind of don't really like about it, and I know it's not Nolan's intention, and I'm sure it wasn't supposed to feel like this, but there is times in the movie where it just kind of feels like, hey, idiot, look what you missed while we were doing all of this. It's just like, it just kind of has that feeling to it. It's just, oh, well, because you're stupid, here's something to catch you up to what's really going on. And like I said, I'm sure that wasn't Nolan's intention. But as a rewatch, because I have seen it more than once at this point, it does kind of feel like one of those movies where to make its point, it has to make you feel dumb. And I don't really like when movies have to do that in order to make its point on something. And it's really kind of the only film on this list where Nolan kind of tries that, and I kind of feel like it doesn't work as much as he was hoping for. But I do have The Prestige at number 11. Not a bad film. There's just things about it that don't completely work for me. At number 10, we actually have a film on here that I think probably some people might even have even lower on the list, but I like it more than most people do. But though it's not Nolan's best film, and that's the film Tenet. This is the film he released during the pandemic, and it was kind of my first film back in theaters, back when the lockdown was going down for the pandemic. And I really like this movie. There's things about it that don't completely work. I feel like it is one of those films where, kind of like Memento, if you're not paying really close attention to it, you really will kind of miss out on certain things with it. But I think the special effects are great. I think the time manipulation stuff is really cool and original in it. I liked John David Washington's character, the lead role in it. There's tons of things to really admire about it. It is a really good movie, in my opinion, anyway. It is a little gimmicky with its time manipulation stuff, but if you can really get into the story, get into the concept of it, and are willing to pay attention to all the details throughout it, I think it is a pretty rewarding film for the most part. So Tenet makes it in at number 10 on my list. At number 9 on my list, we have a film that probably more people might have higher on the list, but for me, it's a film that has just enough flaws where I put it as low as it did. But I also do feel like the teaser for this movie is kind of better than the movie itself. So I think that's something that kind of wears it down just a little bit for me, just because that teaser was so good when they first released it. And that was the film Interstellar. Really like this movie, has tons of amazing things about it. If you love outer space, if you love, theories about wormholes and all this other stuff that are out in outer space, I think there's a lot of great things to love about it. I think the whole thing, though, with the Dust Bowl and how they really have to get weird with some of the physics in it, and how they have to make it as long as they did, and the fact that the TARS, the robot, is basically just like a walking cube thing walking around and stuff. It's not the most imaginative film, I guess, of Christopher Nolan's filmography. I think that's another reason why it's as low on the list as it is. And there's things about it where you can definitely tell they took inspiration from Inception, from another Christopher Nolan movie. But there's things about it where it's like, oh, well, shoot, we're doing space now, so we can't do that. Oh, well, we're doing space now, so we can't do this other thing either. And there's even times where the characters are like sitting around coming up with theories to how to get out of certain scenarios in it and stuff like that. And it's just one of those movies where you can tell they probably wanted to secretly do this as an Inception spiritual sequel at one point, but there's just enough about it too where there's just something about it that doesn't quite feel as right as some of the other Christopher Nolan films on this list. So makes it in at number 9 on my list. Not a terrible film, but like I said, it's like some of these other ones, there's just enough flaws with it where I really can put it in the number 5 part of the ranking in any way. At number 8 on my list, we have Insomnia, the film that Christopher Nolan, a lot of people don't realize he directed. I think it's actually an Americanized remake of an earlier film that came out, and so it's kind of Christopher Nolan's spin on the material. And it's essentially Al Pacino being sent to Alaska to work on a murder mystery case, and there's a Robin Williams criminal there that he's trying to track down, while also kind of having demons of his own that he's kind of trying to basically deal with in his own life. And it's a really good movie. It's just one of those films, like I said, kind of like some of these other films on the bottom part of the list, where it's not necessarily Nolan's best film, so it's not going to be the film that everybody remembers him for, but I think there's tons of great things about it. It's great to see a Nolan film that has a little bit more money put into it. It clearly had a bigger budget than, say, like Memento or Following or any of those. Really good movie. Like it a lot. There's nothing so spectacular about it, though, where I'm going to put it in the top 5 portion of the list. Really enjoy it, though, for what it is, and it's at number 8 on my list. At number 7 on my list, we had a film that I kind of wish I put a little bit higher, but then looking at other films on the Christopher Nolan filmography, I'm like, well, I like this other film better, and I like this other film better, and blah, blah, blah. So at the end of the day, I put it in at number 7, and that's the film Oppenheimer. Really like this film. It's the film that won in Best Picture. Saw it in an IMAX screen, the best way to see it. Clearly the way to see Odyssey as well, and for those who still need to see that. But really like this film. It is a little long, so maybe that's why it's number 7 instead of in the top 5 or any of those higher films on the list. It is a little long. It is one of those films, too, where because it is tackling such a depressing subject matter, and it is showing and depicting things about people losing their lives and how this bomb really kind of ruined a lot of people's lives, and how it showed this darker side of humanity that was just kind of okay with dropping this bomb anywhere at a time where humanity just kind of viewed it as a war tactic and not really anything else. And it's just one of those films, like I said, where it's a little hard to kind of have the urge to go back and rewatch it, just because it is a little long. It does cover a very depressing subject matter, and out of all the films on the list, I feel like this is the film where Nolan really kind of wants to make sure that you don't really feel good about yourself after watching it, which it matches the film he's trying to make. Maybe that's why it's as low as it is on the list. But I do have Oppenheimer at number 7. Really great film. It's just not in the top 5. Now we're at number 6, and actually with 5 and 6, they're kind of two films to me that kind of switch back and forth depending on what day it is and how I'm feeling and what kind of mood I'm in for a movie. So at number 6, I have The Dark Knight Rises, and it'll make sense here why the number 5 spot's significant too. But for Dark Knight Rises, I really like this film. It's a very entertaining film. I like watching it. It is one of those films where the second you try to nitpick it and you're kind of like, oh, well, how did Bruce Wayne get there? And how did he get out of the pit so easily? And there's just a lot of things about it that don't really match up as far as story goes. There's just a lot of questions you're left with by the time the film is over with. And I feel like the plot has to cheat a lot just to make sense and for to wrap up pop properly, so it's not like a 4-hour epic or anything like that. I think I did hear somewhere too that Christopher Nolan had to make sure it didn't exceed 3 hours. That was kind of the Warner Brothers limit that they had with him at the time. So still a pretty long movie. I think it's still like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something crazy like that. Really good movie. You can tell that there was that one limitation that Christopher Nolan probably had to work around, and maybe that's why certain aspects of the plot don't work as well as they do. But it makes it at number 6 on my list. It's just not quite as good as two other Batman titles we're going to talk about here in a minute, but still really fun to watch. Really a great wrap up to the Dark Knight trilogy. It makes it at number 6 on my list. Then, like I said, at number 5 we have Batman Begins, and like I said, this film and Dark Knight Rises, they kind of switch back and forth depending on the mood that I'm in. Dark Knight Rises is more like a, bring it to the man kind of feel, while Batman Begins is more like a really good origin film for Batman, and maybe that's kind of why I feel the way that I do, because you kind of have to be in the right mood for Batman Begins. If you don't want to watch Bruce Wayne's origin all over again, newsflash, that's basically what you're going to get. But I do feel like with Scarecrow, played by Cillian Murphy, I like the character. I just don't like how the only time we really get to see Scarecrow in his full form is when you're exposed to this gasoline thing that they introduce in the movie. So that maybe that's kind of why I switch off between this one and Dark Knight Rises, because Bane's always a threat no matter what state of mind you're in, while with Scarecrow, the really only way you'll see him is if you're exposed to this gas and stuff like that. I think another thing that does help Batman Begins is I do like the way that Ra's al Ghul is depicted with Liam Neeson. So like I said, I'm just it depends on what kind of mood I'm in regards to Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises. But because this is a ranking list and we do have to rank based on quality, I feel like Dark Knight Rises is more appropriate at number 6, and Batman Begins is more appropriate at number 5 for me. I just feel like Batman Begins is a better made movie. Like it's a film where when you nitpick it, it won't come off as flawed as Dark Knight Rises does. So I do have Batman Begins at number 5. Now we're on to the really good stuff, the Christopher Nolan films that make me the Christopher Nolan fan that I am. So at number 4, we have Dunkirk. I love this movie. I love the way it opens. I love the way it closes. I love the way that it plays out. And I really like the idea that Christopher Nolan had of, rather than it being about characters, he wants you to feel the scenario. He wants you to experience what these soldiers were going through on this beach this one day in France during the war. And I just love the idea that all 3 acts are based off of what was going on in the air, what was going on in the water, and what was going on the land. And I feel like when you're telling the story of Dunkirk, that's kind of the right way to do it. I feel like the pilots, the people who were in the water, and the people who were on this beach are kind of the characters you have to focus on to make this story work. And I just love the musical score Hans Zimmer did to this movie. It's just really, especially that violin solo they did when you see a soldier being carried around on the beach getting medical attention. It's just a film where I just love the way it's made. I love the way it's scored. I love the way that we get to experience a day in the war. There's just a lot of really intense sequences in it too that I love. It's just one of those films too, where if I'm in that really rare mood where I do want to watch a war film, this is kind of the film I tend to gravitate to for the most part. Also, so it makes it in at number 4 on my list, and that's Dunkirk. Now we're on to Christopher Nolan's most recent film. At number 3, we have The Odyssey. I love this movie. I love the way that Odysseus' story is depicted. I love the way the Cyclops looks. I like the way how all the stories within the Odyssey Greek poem, how they come together, how certain ones are combined, how certain ones are kind of a hybrid with each other. And I just really got into the characters. I got into how Robert Pattinson was going to be taken out as the villain. I liked how we got to see how what Anne Hathaway was dealing with while Matt Damon was away. We got to see what the Tom Holland son character of Odysseus was doing, what he was up to. We got a really fun mentor character with John Leguizamo. There's just tons of things to love about it. Given this is the only film on the list I saw once, so that is kind of the one thing working against it. Because who knows with rewatch, some things that I pick up on or things that I don't like over time with it. Quite similar to Oppenheimer, it is a little long for me. I feel like they probably could have trimmed out at least 10, 15 minutes out of it, and it probably would have flowed a little bit better. But I really like this film. It truly is an epic of the epics. I really like how Christopher Nolan stepped into the whole sword and sandals story with it. Makes it a number 3 on my list. I absolutely love this film. At number 2 on my list, we have Inception. I feel like this is Christopher Nolan's most original film. I love the concept for it. I love Leo DiCaprio's role in it. I love the musical score from Hans Zimmer in it. It's just one of those films where it's just kind of the perfect Nolan film in every way. It's a blockbuster. It's concept driven. It's a character piece. It's, you got some of the best people in the industry working on it. I think Tom Berenger himself even shows up at one point in it. There's just so many great people that are a part of it. I love the concept for it. And I've always been interested in the concept of the dream world. I know the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise has explored this as well, but I really do like how Inception in particular explores it. I like the idea of a heist story happening in this dream world, so it makes it in at number 2 on my list. Then for number 1, the film that I'm sure a lot of people are going to have at their number 1, and that's The Dark Knight. I love this movie. Even when it came out, I knew the second I saw it, it was going to be a big film. I love the Batman character and the Batman franchise. It's the best the franchise ever has been. Heath Ledger truly gives the best performance of the millennium. It really is a great performance in it. And it's really too bad he got taken from us so quickly. It's just one of those films where almost everything about it I love. If I really had to tweak something with it, I would say maybe more time with the Harvey Dent's transformation into Two-Face. I do feel like it is introduced a little too late in the movie, so that's the one and only nitpick I would probably change with it, is give us a little more time with Two-Face if they really wanted to explore that character too. But other than that, it's a perfect film. It flows perfectly. It's acted perfectly. The action is amazing in it. The opening scene alone is probably one of the best openings in any movie that's ever been made. And it's probably the reason why I'm the Christopher Nolan fan that I am. It's just absolutely perfect. It's number 1 on my list. So that's my ranking, you guys. Let me know down below what your ranking is for Christopher Nolan. Hopefully you're not too angry with me with some of my options and which ones I put at near the bottom of the list. But like I said, all these are great films. Something had to be number 13 on a ranking of 13 films. So nothing personal. But let's just kind of talk friendly down below. Let me know what your ranking is. And let's keep enjoying Christopher Nolan movies.